What's going on, folks? Welcome to another edition of Ask RGT 85, where I answer your questions. It has been a little while since I've done one of these. I apologize for that. Things have just been going really crazy, but I do plan on getting back to these. If you want to ask me a question, simply like the RGT 85 Facebook fan page, and I post on there once a week trying to get your guys' questions so I can make content that interests you. So this week's question comes to us from It's a Trap Productions, and he basically wants me to talk about what I expect from the Switch's Virtual Console. Now, the Virtual Console and the online features of the Nintendo Switch are kind of up in the air right now. So this should make for an interesting video. So let's get into what I think the Nintendo Switch Virtual Console should offer. So in order to talk about the Switch's Virtual Console, you kind of have to look back to what the Wii and the Wii U offered in terms of Virtual Console. Now, the Wii U had an amazing Virtual Console, I feel. It had a great variety of systems. You had the NES, the Super NES, the Game Boy, the Game Gear. You had TurboGrafx, you had arcade games, you had Sega Genesis, Master System. There was a great variety of systems on the Wii's Virtual Console, and there were a lot of great games on there too. They were released pretty regularly, and some of the games even had additional features. Capcom released Street Fighter for the Super Nintendo on there, and they released two versions of it, Turbo and Super Street Fighter 2, and both of those games featured online play. Now, it was pretty basic. You either had to have a friend code or play with a random, but still, it was pretty fun. It was pretty nice, and I think it was only like $7 or $8 for it, so it was worth it in my opinion. And then you had the Wii U. The Wii U was a definite disimprovement because it just wasn't as good. There wasn't as many systems, there wasn't as many games, and it was really unfortunate because I had high expectations for the Wii U's Virtual Console after how great the Wii's Virtual Console was. The Wii's Virtual Console was amazing. It was one of the best features of the system. And then with the Wii U, you just had this paltry, terrible Virtual Console with games being very erratically released, and it was just a complete failure. So looking forward, I think Nintendo does need to put stock into the Virtual Console on the Nintendo Switch because it is a very valuable thing. Now, there's a couple things that they should do, and there's one thing that I think is outside of the realm of possibility, but it honestly makes the most sense, and it's what Nintendo should do. I don't think necessarily they will, but it's something I would like to see, and that is, of course, a Netflix-style service. Basically, you take 50 to 75 games of, different systems. You don't do, a lot of people say, oh, they should do the whole library. You don't do that because after a while, people are gonna get bored and there's no real incentive to keep going back after, month after month. But what you do is you offer this Virtual Console service with 50 to 70 games or something from a variety of systems, and then you rotate the games out so that, there's fresh games coming in every month, just like with Netflix and movies. Not every movie ever is on Netflix, but they rotate them out and stuff. And I think that would be really cool for the Switch. I think that would really set the system apart in terms of, their Virtual Console, because the Virtual Console is really unique to Nintendo systems. Sony and Microsoft can't really replicate what Nintendo can do in terms of Virtual Console. Now, while I say I would love to see that, like I said, it's probably not probable. So two things that should be probable that more than likely I think we will see happen are things like bundles. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's say a NES game is $5. So if you bought Super Mario Bros. 1, 2, and 3, that would cost you $15. Why not do bundles like that? So you do all 3 Super Mario Bros. Games and maybe charge them $10. So that way people are spending more money and you're still getting money in, and then you just sold 3 games. And now people are happy because they have 3 Mario Brothers games, and Nintendo is happy because they're getting money. You could do lots of bundles like that and really extend the value of the Nintendo Switch's Virtual Console by offering lower price points. $10 for 3 Mario games, you can't really beat that. But the most important thing is going back to what made the Wii's Virtual Console so great, and that is game variety and system variety. Now, I want to see the NES, the Super NES, the N64. I want to see the Genesis. I want to see things like the TurboGrafx. Those systems, even if you just did Sega games on the Genesis primarily, and you only did Hudson Soft games on the TurboGrafx because that's what primarily the system was, Konami and Sega are very easy companies to work with. They will not mind lending out their IPs for a small cut of money. But I want to see it go one step beyond that. I want to see Dreamcast and I want to see GameCube. And I think it's doable. It's doable in terms of a software standpoint because the PS3 and the Xbox 360 had a variety of Dreamcast games on there from Sega, either arcade ports or actual Dreamcast ports. And you don't even see that with the PS4, the Xbox One. They pretty much just abandoned that stuff, which is so stupid because the Dreamcast library is really good, even if you only had Sega games. If you had games like Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, Jet Set Radio or Jet Grind Radio, Sega GT, Daytona USA, there's a lot of great Dreamcast games that you could offer. Plus, Capcom was very prevalent on that system, on the Dreamcast. And I think Capcom would be more than willing to work with Nintendo and work with Sega with bringing in Dreamcast games to the system. But the most important system, of course, would be the GameCube, because there's a lot of great GameCube games. GameCube games are going up in price every day. Super Mario Sunshine, Luigi's Mansion, all of the top tier games on the system are always going up in price. So why not offer them on the Virtual Console? Sony offers PS2 games for $15 on the PS4. I think it's a tremendous ripoff because a lot of these games are crap that you can buy for $5, but there are a few exceptions. There are some higher price games that are on that system that is the cheapest way to play it, and that's what I appreciate. Plus, you also have to figure one thing, the Nintendo Switch is portable. So imagine a system that offers everything from NES to Dreamcast and GameCube on the go. That is mind-blowing. That is huge. And that's the demographic Nintendo's going for, the early 20s to mid 30s crowd. Look at their advertising with the Switch. You don't see as many kids. So it makes perfect sense to try to pack in as much Virtual Console stuff as you can because it's a valuable service. It's an interesting service and it's something that Nintendo can exploit and focus on to make the system more attractive to newcomers to the Nintendo Switch. Thank you to It's a Trap Productions for this question. I enjoyed answering it. Like I said, make sure you follow the RGT85 Facebook fan page, and I ask once a week where you can answer or you can ask me a question and I'll cover it on the channel. Thank you guys for checking out this video. Let me know what you want to see in the Nintendo Switch Virtual Console down below. Make sure you check out other videos on the channel. If you're new here, subscribe. And of course, if you really like my face, check out my Patreon. I'll catch you guys next time. Later.